AVC, how's it going? It's been about a month since my last video, so I thought I'd show you what I've been buying, what I've been listening to. Right, this is what hopefully you can hear in the background. This is Jane Weaver, The Silver Globe. Not a recent purchase. This came out I think 2014, yeah, on Finders Keepers. The reason why I'm listening to it at the moment, she's got a new album coming out next month, yeah, in May. I saw her a couple of years ago, a local venue. Yeah, great band. The album's got a bit of a kraut rocky, space rocky, synthy feel to it, you know, so if that's your sort of bag, then check it out. Cool. Right, okay. Right, this is something that I bought on a whim. This is Here Lies Man, is the name of the artist. I assume this is their debut album. I basically bought this on just on the sales pitch, you know, the biog, you know, the sales tagline for it was if Black Sabbath played Afrobeat, this is what it would sound like. Now that had me hook, line and sinker, you know what I mean? So yeah, and it's basically a rock band, but it's got that, it does have that sort of hypnotic Afrobeat rhythm to it, and it's great, you know. So yeah, so this arrived in the post. I pre-ordered this a couple of weeks ago, and I pretty much played it to death since. So yeah, definitely recommend it. Right, okay. Beginning of the year, I made a bit of a list of sort of classic albums which I either had never heard or didn't own, just with a view to picking up throughout the year. So here we go. Here's one of them, Funkadelic Maggot Brain. Now this is a bit of a funny one because I mean I own a lot of P-Funk stuff, whether it be Funkadelic, Parliament, the solo albums, you know, George Clinton, Bootsy, Eddie Hayes or whatever, you know, but I've never owned this record before. And I appreciate it's considered a classic, but if you look online it does get quite mixed reviews, and I think the reason being is this is their third album, and the first three records all have a little bit of a psych feel to them, you know, rather than just being straight P-Funk, which obviously came later on. And I think that's proved a little bit divisive. But the first track, Maggot Brain, the title track, most of you all know is a 10-minute guitar freak out, Eddie Hazel at his finest. Absolutely fantastic. This isn't her first press, but it's certainly an early US press on Westbound, so yeah, really pleased with that. Right, okay, another album that I've been after for a long time. This is an eBay purchase, Leon Ware, Musical Massage. This is on Motown. In the mid-70s, Marvin Gaye recorded the I Want You album, with the majority of the tracks having been written by Leon Ware. I think basically Marvin Gaye heard Leon Ware's demos, just basically lapped them up and recorded them and put them out as that album. I think this album, you know, I think I'm right in saying this, I think this album came out shortly afterwards, so it's got a very similar feel to it, you know. It's that very soulful, almost slow jam feel, I suppose, and you can tell, you know, just from the album title, Musical Massage, you know, that cover, it pretty much says it all, you know, what sort of music you're going to be getting. But it's a lovely album, normally quite expensive actually, but I picked this up for a decent price on eBay, so I was really pleased with that. Cool, and just one other sort of soul album to show. This is 24 Karat Black. The album's called Ghetto Misfortunes Wealth, 1973 on Stax. Now many of you will know that was very much towards the end of the Stax label. Yeah, and a really interesting album. It's basically a concept album, which is something you don't often come across when it comes to soul and funk artists. Prog, yes, but soul not so much, you know. So, but yeah, it's basically a concept album about, you know, the issues of living in inner cities, basically, whether it be, you know, poverty, that sort of thing, you know. So yeah, a really interesting listen. Obviously quite a dark record, and I think for that reason it's meant that it's been sampled several times. I think artists like Jay-Z, I think even the Beastie Boys have sampled this record. Only one album by this band came out at the time. When I say band, I think it's pretty much just one bloke with various session musicians. But although a follow-up was recorded, I don't think it's put out. I think purely because Stax was at the end of its life, and I imagine didn't have the money to put it out. But I've got a couple of other tracks by this artist on various compilations, which I assume have come out over the years. But Whether the follow-up was ever released, I'm not sure. I need to look into it. But yeah, really nice record. Definitely worth checking out. Right, something that everybody will know. Elvis Costello, this year's model. Yeah, Stone Cold classic. You know, everybody knows what this is. The Attractions were just a wonderful band. You know, every member pulled the weight. I mean, just well, yeah, the bass line on "Pump It Up," which is one of the singles off this album. You know, I said before, I play in a dodgy covers band, and that's a tune that we do. And you know, playing the bass myself, what a wonderful bass part of that is. You know, so other singles on it, stuff like "I Don't Want to Go to Chelsea," another wonderful Costello tune. Yeah, faultless from start to finish. Excuse me. Right, okay. Goldfrapp, Silver Eye. This is their latest album. Came out a few weeks ago. I love that sleeve. Very Pink Floydy. Not that I like Pink Floyd, but I do quite like the artwork. Yeah, I love Goldfrapp. I find them a really interesting band. I think what I like about them is that every album has its own feel. Every album stands up in its own right, but always sounds like Goldfrapp. You know, the first album had that sort of trip hop feel to it. Black Cherry had a bit of a electro glam thing going on. A couple of the others have got more of a folk feel. This is very much electro pop, you know, straight pop album. Yeah, really nice. Definitely recommend it. This is the indie clear vinyl. I know I've said before about the fact that I do prefer black vinyl, but I'm a man of contradiction, so there you go. Right, okay. Talking about pop music, this is the Pet Shop Boys Introspective. Actually, pop music, that's a genre which isn't really represented that well in the VC, I don't think. Perhaps it's just the people whose videos that I watch. But I don't see a lot of pop records being talked about in the VC. But yeah, Pet Shop Boys, I've said before how much I love the Pet Shop Boys. I've owned this album for years, but I've never had this edition. The Introspective album is basically 6 tracks, 6 extended tracks, and this is basically those 6 tracks split over 3 12-inches, so a track on each side. Yeah, great album. A few singles off it, Domino Dancing, It's Alright, but the big tune on this for me is Left to My Own Devices, produced by Trevor Horn. It's a big, bombastic pop tune, you know, it's kitchen sink thrown at it. Yeah, absolutely love it. 80s pop doesn't get any better than that for me. Yeah, I'd encourage you, if you don't do anything else today, sit down for 5 minutes and check out a Pet Shop Boys video online. That's what I suggest to do, whether it be Left to My Own Devices or West End Girls or I don't know, Being Boring. All wonderful pop songs delivered in Neil Tennant's deadpan voice, you know, deadpan vocal delivery. Yeah, wonderful stuff. Just good, interesting pop music. Right, okay. Sort of a natural follow-on is the Human League reproduction. This is their debut album from 1979 on Virgin. I've got their second album, Travelogue. This was before, these 2 records were before the band sort of split up and split into 2 different bands. You've got obviously the Human League that went on to record the Dare album, which is pretty much a perfect pop album itself, with the other members going on, Martin Ware going on to form Heaven 17. But this is obviously prior to that split. An interesting electronic album. I picked this up cheaply, I think it's £4 from an antique market. The thing I found interesting in this, there's a cover of You Lost That Loving Feeling, the Righteous Brothers record. And it's interesting just how straight and how faithful a recording it is to the original, you know. I expect it to be a little bit darker, but it really is quite a straight cover version. But yeah, very good. Okay, now a name that I've heard bandied about a lot and has been recommended to me a few times in the last few months is Arthur Russell. This is his album Another Thought, which I think is a compilation. I may be wrong, but Arthur Russell was a composer, vocalist, cellist. This album itself has a little bit of an electronic feel to it, which I think is basically his cello with put through various treatments. You know, that's how that sound comes about. But yeah, this is double vinyl, a really interesting record. I understand that each of his releases have a very different feel to them. As I say, all new to me, so yeah, something I'll definitely be checking out in the future. So don't be surprised if I show a few more of his records over future months. Okay, talking about pop music, I know James Griffiths, the vinyl professor, made I think a 20-minute video talking about this record. So watch that. He was far more eloquent than I ever could be. So yeah, this came out in 1990. Jellyfish. The album's called Belly Button. A really interesting band, almost a little bit a band out of time, really. I think if this had come out a few years later, I think this would have been far bigger than it was at the time. The whole album has a very Beatles feel to it. Really nice songwriting. I say just great pop songs. Their follow-up album, Spilt Milk, had moved on again. It had, I think the production side was a little bit more ELO, had that sort of ELO 70s feel to it. Which obviously, you know, is very similar to the Beatles songwriting, but the production had moved on slightly. Unfortunately, they only made 2 albums. I think they were dropped by the label. But yeah, a really nice record. I picked this up a few months ago now. I bought it when I was in Northern Ireland. I think I mentioned before, for a wedding, and got a chance to visit a couple of record shops. But yeah, it's an album that I've had on CD for years, but really nice to get a vinyl copy of it. And finally, just very quickly, I went to see Glenn Tilbrook in concert back in November now, and I bought this at the time. Yeah, Glenn Tilbrook, obviously formerly of Squeeze. This is a really nice record as well. It also has that sort of Beatles feel to it in the songwriting. But yeah, I think Glenn Tilbrook is a stunning songwriter, great musician, wonderful guitarist. But seeing him live and listening to his recent records, it's amazing the fact that his voice has not changed. As most singers get older, their voice drops, but yeah, his voice is exactly the same. He still hits all the high notes, and this is a lovely record and a lovely package as well. I mean, look at that sleeve. Comes with a CD of the album as well, which I prefer that to a download. Don't get me started about downloads. I've got no problem with CDs. I listen to a lot of CDs, still buy a lot of CDs, but downloads I can do without. But yeah, a really nice package. So cheers.